All right. Welcome back, folks, to the Face Off Sports Network. My name is Michael Hoff. Today, we're going to be coming at you with tight ends for week one. Start and sit. We're going to give you three to start, three to sit. I will also let you guys know that if you go into our archives, we also have running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers, all who to start, all who to sit. It's all available for you. So you just got to go to our YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You'll get the notification every single time that we go live. But yes, let's get into it right now with our starts and sits at the tight end position. And, there's going to be some surprises maybe here and there. And the first one, which might seem like a surprise to you for my start suggestion for you, is Noah Fant of the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Denver Broncos. I guess you can call this a revenge game at this point. Is it? I mean, I think enough time has gone by. I think we're fine. But more importantly, it's been 620 days since Noah Fant has fallen into the end zone. It's a long time. It's going to happen this week. This week, Noah Fant is scoring a touchdown. For as good as the Broncos were previously against tight ends, you go back to 2021, they only allowed two touchdowns to tight ends back in 2021. In the last 2 years, they've allowed 17 touchdowns to tight ends, including last year where they allowed 10, and they were the only team in the league to allow double-digit touchdowns, to tight ends. So I think that bodes well for Noah Fant. I also look at the offensive coordinator here, Ryan Grubb. I think Ryan Grubb is going to make this offense more pass happy, more pass friendly, especially for fantasy football purposes. I think that helps out Noah Fant. I think Noah Fant puts together a nice little game here. Is he a reliable guy on a week to week basis? No. And some of these start options I'm going to give you, they're not reliable throughout the whole season, wire to wire, but they are reliable in week one, in my opinion. So Noah Fant is one of those guys. We'll give you two more of those names in a little bit, but we are going to give you a bit of bad news. We're going to go with a sit. And yes, I am going with Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Falcons. Now, what worries me about this? There's a revenge game happening, but it happens to be Arthur Smith going up against the Falcons. Yes. So if you think back to Arthur Smith and the Falcons, what do you remember about that? You have a lot of PTSD about how the tight end was used, about how a lot of the positions were used, about how some of the best players on his team could not get the ball enough. Like they just wouldn't get the ball. They wouldn't get nearly enough. Not to say Pat Freiermuth is the bona fide best offensive player on this Pittsburgh Steelers team, but he should get most of the targets, at least in terms of the tight ends. He's not going to though. There's backup tight ends that are going to get work. You're going to look at Darnell Washington's going to get work. They're even going to mix in Cordarrelle Patterson. This is going to be like the Atlanta Falcons last year, where you saw a lot of Jonnu Smith, where you saw a lot of Cordarrelle Patterson. And yes, I get it. Cordarrelle Patterson's used as, more so a running back, wide receiver, what have you. But Arthur Smith will get him the ball however he can, and he thinks he's smarter than all of us, which, maybe in some aspects he is, but sometimes it's to his detriment. So I'm worried about Pat Freiermuth here in week one. I don't think Pat Freiermuth is going to be a dud for the whole year, but in terms of just week one, I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah, the Falcons allowed the sixth most points to tight ends last season, but they also only allowed 4 touchdowns. So I don't know if I could trust Freiermuth because at that point you're just saying, "Hey, dude, just if you're not going to get enough of the target share because of Arthur Smith and his play calling, just fall into the end zone." I don't see that happening this week. So that is why Pat Freiermuth is going to be a fade for me in week one. As much as I would love to see him out there doing well, I just simply cannot trust Arthur Smith, and therefore I cannot suggest to you guys that you guys trust him. He needs to earn our trust back, but he doesn't care about that, and that's fine. Let's get on with some good stuff here. Let's get back to the good news. Let's go to a start. We're gonna go Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. Yes, I get it. That offense is not supposed to be good. They are going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. If you're all playing in survivor pools, this is probably the one game you felt most comfortable about clicking a team, and you're clicking the Bengals to destroy the Patriots. But within that destroying, I do think that Hunter Henry is going to see a good amount of targets. I think that he does have a chance to score a touchdown in this game. I like him here. Look, this offensive line, you heard about it in the preseason. Even if you didn't watch the preseason, you probably still heard about it. This Patriots offensive line is going to be an absolute wreck, a dumpster fire. It might get Jacoby Brissett killed, but before it gets him killed, he's going to look to get the ball off quick. He's going to dump it off quick. And who's going to be there? I envision Hunter Henry being that guy. So, especially if you're in like a half point PPR, full point per reception league, you can get Hunter Henry out there to catch a good number of passes. And if he's able to do anything with the yards, he did also surprise us last year. Most people might not realize Hunter Henry had 6 touchdown catches last year. That was tied for second most in the league, tied with a few guys, but still 6 touchdowns, a tight end, tied for second in the league. Not too shabby. So I like Hunter Henry here. Again, if you're somebody who waited on the tight end position, this is the kind of start sit that is for you. Listen, if you have the studs, if you have the Kelseys, you have the Andrews, McBride, Kincaid, Kittle, Pitts, if his hamstring would just stop acting up, you start those guys. Don't even put Pitts in there. Actually, screw that. But those top guys, you're starting those top guys. These are the streamer guys. These are the guys that if you waited at the position, you don't know who to play this week. These are the names I'm giving you. Let's get to a sit here. Let's go back to some of the bad news. It's going to be Mr. Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears. Yes, I get it. Everybody's very excited about Caleb Williams. Everybody's very excited about Roma Dunze. So am I. But I'm a little worried about Cole Kmet, and you should be too. We watched in the preseason. Kmet didn't get a ton of playing time. And yes, I get it. You say it's a preseason. Who cares? But we did hear a lot of talk about how Gerald Everett's going to be involved in this offense. He's sitting behind Cole Kmet in the depth chart. That's not good. Cole Kmet for his career hasn't been the poster child of consistency. Now he's got somebody breathing down his neck for some targets and an offensive coordinator who's not going to be afraid to call on Gerald Everett's number. That scares me a little bit in terms of Cole Kmet. So, a lot of times I feel like Cole Kmet, what we're relying on here is we're also relying on touchdowns. We're relying on him getting into the end zone. This Titans defense only allowed 3 touchdowns at tight ends last year. So you're talking about a guy now who is potentially having to beat away, Gerald Everett in terms of targets. And now he's got to score a touchdown against a team that doesn't allow touchdowns at tight ends. I think there's other ways you can go in this opening week. So to me, Cole Kmet's not the play. I love Cole Kmet in best ball in general for the year. I love him in DFS in general for the year, but I do not like him in week 1 in just about every single format that you can imagine. One guy I do like. We heard a lot of preseason hype going towards Gerald Everett that was scaring, or a lack of targets for Cole Kmet. It's kind of scaring people. One guy we heard a lot of hype about is every coach's favorite player, Taysom Hill of the New Orleans Saints, the guy that just won't die. He is going up against the Carolina Panthers in week 1. And if you go watch our start sits at quarterback, I implored you to sit Derek Carr, but I also implore you to start Taysom Hill. Listen, people are starting to catch the fever too. Just before this recording, CBS announced that they had changed Taysom Hill's eligibility from being quarterback to being a tight end. They know it. They get it. You watch the preseason. You should know it. You should get it. Taysom Hill is going to be a part of this offense. He might be more a part of this offense than he ever was, if you can imagine that. So I think it's time to just embrace it. And in 11 games against his division rival, the Carolina Panthers, Taysom Hill has scored 4 touchdowns and accumulated 522 total yards of offense. I think he's a nice play. Tight end. Again, if you're streaming at the position, Taysom Hill is a guy to play. I think he's going to produce. Is he going to produce weekly? No. But is he going to be scoring here and there? Yeah, his number's going to be called in that offense. Dennis Allen loves him. Every coach loves him. I don't know what he does right, but every coach loves him. We're going to go to our last player, our last sit option. I will also tell you guys before we go to the last sit option, please feel free to like and subscribe to this show. We got you covered all season long. We're going to win you a ton of fantasy football championships. Also, if you have any questions, ask them in the comments. We will answer them, whether it's something against what I said, whether it's something you love that I said, or whether it's a question about anything else completely different with your week 1. Ask it anyway. one of us on this fine program will get to you. But let's go to our last sit option. It's going to be David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, if you've watched this show enough, you know that I've told you all offseason I do not like David Njoku this year, and it's got so little to do with David Njoku, the athlete, David Njoku, the person. Um, I think he's a great player. I think he's talented. I think if he was on someone like the Chiefs, I think he'd be one of the best tight ends of football. But he's not. He's on the Cleveland Browns, and Joe Flacco's not walking through that door. Deshaun Watson, throughout his career, has shown an inability to target the tight end on a consistent basis. If you want to tell me, well, he hasn't had a tight end like Njoku, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. Fine. I'm not gambling on that in week one. Week one, when I want to come out of the gates and win a game, I'm not going to go rely on, well, who did Deshaun Watson have a few years ago? Just Deshaun Watson does not like to target his tight ends. The best work that Njoku did last year was that stretch when Joe Flacco was the quarterback. And now, along with that, he's going up against the Dallas Cowboys. You know, Dallas Cowboys allowed 6.3 points per game to tight ends last season. That was tied for the 8th fewest amount of points on a per game basis. You know, we were worried about CD Lamb joining the team, but the defense has been steady. We'll see what they're like without Dan Quinn, but I don't think this defense is going to lose a big step here right out of the gate. And by the way, this is going to be a defensive matchup. This is one of the lowest over-unders on the week. I think it's tied for the second lowest. So you're putting David Njoku in that mix with a quarterback who doesn't like to throw the ball to tight ends and the second lowest over-under on the week against a good defense that only allowed less than 10 points per game to tight ends. I'm not in it, man. I'm not starting David Njoku. So again, those are the three start options. Noah Fant, Hunter Henry, Taysom Hill. My three sits at tight end. Pat Freiermuth, Cole Kmet, David Njoku. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today, folks. But again, please feel free to go into our archives. Check out our start sits for quarterback, for running back, for wide receiver. You've got your tight ends here. Ask any questions that you need. We will be live on Thursday. We will be live on Friday with your starts and sits, and we'll be live on Sunday before the games kick off. We'll be there to help you out. So until next time, stay thirsty, be kind to one another, and we will most certainly catch you guys on the flip side. Cheers.